Hello everyone, this is Nanda here. I'm part of the Adobe India marketing team. I welcome you all to yet another session as part of the Adobe Photography virtual series, which we conduct on a monthly basis. Today we have a very interesting topic. It's Astro-Landscape photography, and I'm quite excited to announce that we have a special guest, Manish Mamtani. He's the winning nature photographer, and he specializes in landscape, night and astro, aerial and infrared photography. He's originally from Nagpur, but you all would be surprised that he's based out of Boston, and he's doing this session, for us from Boston. So really appreciate he spending time on sharing his experiences, and he it's 5 a.m. in Boston, and he's up to share his knowledge and experience with all of us today. His work has been published in various periodicals such as National Geographic, Vanity Fair, Better Photography, and many others. So I'm quite happy that he's on board with us today. So he would first share with you his experience and share some tips and tricks on astrophotography. And post that, I also have my colleague Abhishek Mukherjee, who is the photography evangelist with us based out of Noida, and he would share some tips and tricks on Photoshop and Lightroom, which you could use in your astrophotography workflow. So there's a lot of stuff to be covered. All question and answers will take at the end. You could drop in your questions in the Q&A pod appearing on your screen, or you could keep the questions till the end and ask them via phone line, which will be opened at the end. So without any further delay, I would now hand it over to Manish. So Manish, you could share your screen and get started. So over to you.
Sure, thank you so much. Okay, so all right, thank you. So, hello everyone. Thank you all for joining this webinar today. In this session, I will be talking about uh, night photography, night and astrophotography, including how to take awesome Milky Way and landscape starry photos. So, before we begin, let me give you a quick introduction about who I am and how I became a photographer. So, who am I? I'm Manish Mamtani. I live in Boston, Massachusetts. I was born and brought up in Nagpur, India. I completed my chartered accountancy from there, worked in India for a couple of years, and then I moved to US to work as IT and finance consultant. So you must be wondering, how did I get into photography? Well, my consulting job gave me the opportunity to travel on the weekends and explore all the beautiful destinations across the US. It was during one of these trips to Yosemite National Park that I discovered my love for photography, and there was no looking back after that. So yeah, you can definitely say that I have been bitten by both the shutter and the travel bug, and I absolutely love it. So when I started photography, um, like most of us, I used to shoot almost everything under the sky. But slowly with time, I developed my taste for landscape photography and created my own style. These days, I mainly focus on landscapes, night astros, aerials, and infrared. But if you ask me, out of all these, I enjoy astrophotography the most. Like my love for the night sky is the reason I ventured into astrophotography. The thrill, the excitement that I get while hiking in the night, or when I see a meteor shower or a Milky Way, is unexplainable. I just cannot describe it. Um, if you ask me, the world is a different and magical place at night. Even the places we are so familiar with look so different during the night, and you just have to be out there to get that feeling that I'm talking about. Well, I feel that this quote from famous painter Vincent van Gogh describes me perfectly. For my part, I know nothing with certainty, but the sight of the stars make me dream. Uh, so now you know me. Let's move on to the next slide. So the most important thing for Milky Way photography, the utmost important thing is planning. You need to plan when to shoot, where to shoot, and how to shoot. And in this slide, I'm talking about what's the first thing that I just said is when to shoot. The best time to shoot Milky Way is on an average 2 hours after the sunset to 2 hours before the sunrise. This time does change based on the location you are, how close you are to the equator, and the season. So it varies anywhere between 2.5 hours to 1.5 hours. But I have taken an average time of 2 hours after sunset to 2 hours before sunset. And this image, this diagram I took from photopills.com. I really like this diagram, and it explains not even the the time that you should shoot the night photography, but also the time when you can go out and shoot day photography as well. So this tells you the position of the sun and how important it is for night and day photography. So if we see during at the time of sunset, when the sun comes about 6 degrees, just 6 degrees above the horizon to 4 degrees below the horizon, this is a time that is well known among photographers as golden hour. This is the best time to shoot landscape photography, sunsets, and everything. The light is beautiful. There's so much color out there. But if you ask me, that's not the good time to take night photos because you don't see any stars. So coming down when the sun comes up to about 6 degrees below the horizon. That time we call as civil twilight. It's a combination of both, some part of golden hour and some part of blue hour. And during this time, it's called blue hour. Basically, you can go out and shoot for other cityscapes and all. You get all the blue color in the sky and other details. When sun comes from 6 degree to 12 degree below the horizon, this time period is called the nautical twilight. So all the bright stars, they start to appear this time. You can see the stars. You um, Still not a good time to shoot Milky Way, but definitely if you are planning to shoot any Milky Way image for which you need a foreground detail, so you can definitely shoot a foreground during this time and wait till the time astronomical twilights end and the Milky Way appears, based on your planning, of course, and combine these two images to create one. When the sun comes from 12 degree to 18 degrees below horizon, that is a time called astronomical twilight. So there is some slight light out there, but Milky Way is visible, and from there onwards, you can start taking your night photos, your star trail photos, your Milky Way photos. And when the sun is below 18 degree, the horizon, that's a perfect time, the best time to do any kind of astronomical activity. Uh, you don't have any kind of light from sun that interferes. All stars are visible unless and until there is a moon. That is altogether different story. So this I talked about sunset. The same applies to the sunrise. Sunrise and sun goes up from 18 degree to 0 degree and up to 6 degrees. So this diagram applies to both sunset and sunrise. So my next slide. This slide tells about the applications that can be used for planning for Milky Way, knowing the time when the Milky Way will actually rise, and based on the season, based on the months. So I use an app called PhotoPills, and what I've done is I've taken screen prints from that app to explain it to you that how I plan for the Milky Way shoots. Well, I have not been to India to take night photos, but this image that I took is from Pangong Lake in Ladakh, and so basically most of the audience is from India, so I picked up an Indian location. Um, the first screenshot over here, which shows the March month, it says the visibility of the GC. GC is nothing but the galactic core from 2:51 a.m. to 5:22 a.m. So what this means is at about 2:51 a.m., the Milky Way core will be visible to you just above the horizon. So from here till 5:22 a.m., it will rise up. it will, as seen in this diagram, the white line that you can see and the white dots you can see is the Milky Way in the horizon. So it rises out from there, and slowly it moves from southeast to south direction, and you can see the Milky Way rising up in the sky. The second one talks about 1st April. So this one is from the 1st April. You can see the visibility of the galactic core changes from 2:51 a.m. On 1st March to 12:49 a.m. on 1st April till 4:39 a.m. So even though you're getting more time, it is rising. The Milky Way is rising way early, like 12:49 a.m. And the same thing applies. It rises above after that. If you see on the 1st May screenshot, you can see it rises now at 10:47 a.m. and it goes till 3:54 a.m. So I've given for approximately like 9 months. This slide talks about June, July, and August. So as you see in June, the Milky Way visibility is from 9:05 p.m. to 3:24 a.m. The only thing difference over here is by the time Milky Way is visible, it has already risen. So as in this diagram it shows, probably it rose at around 8:30, but by the time it is completely dark, you can see Milky Way is a little up in the sky, a little more on the horizontal side. And that changes when you go to July and August. So in July and August, even though it is visible at 8:52 and 9:15, the Milky Way is already up by the time it is visible. And you get less and less time as the months proceed, like July, August, September, October, November. So based on this, you should always plan your shots based on these applications. That okay, if I have to take a vertical shot, what will be the best time? So the best time will be the later months when by the time it is night, you can see vertical. The Milky Way is already vertical in the sky. So, but that's not a good time to take panoramas because you want panoramas when the Milky Way is close near the horizon. So in this slide, you can see September, October, and November months. In these months, you don't get that much time with Milky Way. It rises, it's already up in the sky, it's vertical, and in certain couple of hours, it sets as well. So plan accordingly whenever you have to take a Milky Way shot. Keep that in mind, which kind of shot you're looking in for. So PhotoPills app I use it not only tells me about Milky Way, it also tells me about the sunrise and sunset time, moonrise and moonset time. The planner tells me about the civil, nautical, and astronomical twilight that we just discussed in the previous slides. That during at the time of sunrise as well as at the time of sunset, also the blue hour and the golden hour. So these are very important things when you are going out and planning for photography. So if you're taking Milky Way shots, it's not necessarily that you'll just come back with Milky Way shots. You may want to stay there, see the blue hour, see the golden hour, take some sunrise pictures, and then come back. Or same if you can go out for sunset and then stay there, take some pictures more, and then take Milky Way shots and come back. So all this is very really good in this sense. So this slide, I talk about shooting the Milky Way Arch. So where I live in the northern hemisphere, the best time to shoot Milky Way Arch is through a panorama. Definitely is spring and early months of summer in the northern hemisphere, and we can see that is almost true for India as well with the slides that we saw. So the best time might be April, May, June. You can still take it in July, but not in the later months as Milky Way is way up. For creating a Milky Way panorama, what I do is I take vertical images and I stitch them together because this image shows about a 180-degree view, which is not possible by taking a single shot. This example is shot with about 10 vertical images, shot with Rokinon 24 f1.4. You can do this in 7 images as well, but sometimes I do take more images so that I have more and more overlapping between the images, and that helps me basically to stitch them together in the software. I prefer about 30 to 35% or sometimes even more overlapping between the images. This is another example of Milky Way Arch that I shot with the same lens, Rokidan 24mm f1.4, but I created it by stitching 7 vertical images. The reason I chose less images than the previous one because there were so many people out there in the night. Uh, the light painting was used to light up the foreground, and so that not many people and their tripods come in my images, I had to reduce my uh, number of vertical images. But that worked out well in this case. So I talked about like how you can take the Milky Way vertical images, but using the softwares, I use PT That is a very good software for stitching your images together. So in this example, the first one, it's about 10 images that I use in PT and stitch them together to create a panorama. And the second one below, it shows up the 7 images, vertical images I took, and from left to right, which I stitched in PTGUI to create the panorama. You can use other softwares as well, and even Photoshop helps with this. But I prefer PTGUI because that works well with stars. If it was just a daytime, I would have definitely used Photoshop as well. So this is another application. This is not a phone application, but instead a desktop application that you can use on your computer. It's called Stellarium. Uh, I use it specifically to find what kind of image I'm planning to do and take if I'm not using photo pills. So I, in this example as well, I took the location of Ladakh, and it's showing that in the month of April, on 3rd April at about 3 a.m the Milky Way rises from south to north, and it's low near the horizon. So, as and when months progress, at the same time you will see the Milky Way is way up. Like in case of the second slide or the second screen print over here, which talks about May, you can see at this almost at the similar time in May at 3 a.m. the Milky Way is way up in the sky. And the final one talks about June, where on 3rd June, same 3 a.m., the Milky Way is way up. So at this time, definitely you cannot take the panorama image, but during June, as it rises earlier, you can come early and start taking those images the way you want. So that helps, and these planning tools definitely help in planning on what kind of shot you want to take, and that's really, really important.